The NFL postseason is officially here, and with that, we can finally predict and make our NFL playoff brackets. I think if you showed somebody this bracket in August, they'd be honestly in disbelief. You have teams such as the Jaguars, Seahawks, and Giants, 3 teams that were looked at as bottom 5 teams in the league coming into the year. And you also have teams such as Broncos, Titans, Raiders, Packers, and the defending league champion, the LA Rams, missing the playoffs. With that being said, let's get straight into the video. Starting it off, we have the Jaguars versus Chargers. And like I alluded to earlier, this is one of the more shocking matchups in my opinion. Not because of the Chargers, I think most people expected the Chargers at the beginning of the year to make the playoffs, even though it was a little scary in the middle of the year, but mainly because of the Jaguars. The Jaguars were the worst team in football the prior 2 years, and they just hired head coach Doug Peterson. In the middle of the year, it looked like that prediction was pretty accurate. The Jaguars were 3-7 and barely holding on to playoff contention. But pair that with a historic 180 turnaround in the second half of the season, and pair that with an also historic Titans collapse, and the Jaguars ended up as the 4th seed in the playoff, and they will be hosting the LA Chargers. Coming into this year, the Chargers were looking to find their first playoff success under Justin Herbert. In his rookie season, the Chargers weren't even close to the playoffs, and last year they missed out in an overtime kick by the Raiders. And just like the Jaguars in the middle of the season, the Chargers were giving everybody a little bit of concern. Brandon Staley, their head coach, comes from a defensive background, and the defense looked mid at best. Justin Herbert could not do everything on this team. However, in the last month or so, the Chargers defense has looked amazing, Brandon Staley has looked on point, and the Chargers are starting to look like a pretty good team. Like I alluded to earlier, Justin Herbert's been amazing, like everyone expected. Mike Williams has officially been ruled out this league. I don't understand why on earth they were playing him in week 18 to begin with, why they were playing any starters to begin with. So that is definitely a blow to the Chargers, but at the end of the day, I'm still picking the Chargers to beat the Jaguars. I think this will be a very close game. I don't think it'll be any blowout or anything, but I do have the Chargers picking up the W. I do think the Jaguars are a very solid team, and they are heading in the right direction to possibly be Super Bowl contenders in a couple years. But their time is not just yet, and I have the Chargers advancing out of this game. The next game up is the Ravens versus Bengals. On one side, you have the Bengals, in my opinion, the second hottest team in football. And on the other side, you have the Ravens. The Ravens are awful without Lamar Jackson. It's that simple. Their offense runs through him. And in my first take of this video, before I found out about the Lamar Jackson news, I said the Ravens would not win either way. And now, Lamar Jackson has officially been ruled out from this game. Listen, I don't think the Ravens have a chance. Like I alluded to earlier, when Lamar Jackson is not on the field, the offense is awful. I don't think there's any chance. I think Joe Burrow will absolutely demolish this team, and I have the Bengals winning pretty easily against the Ravens. Another quick game, the Bills versus Dolphins. I'll just put it out there because it's pretty obvious. Dolphins are not the same team without Tua. The Dolphins are the team of streaks this year. They won 3 games, lost 3 games, won 5 games, lost 5 games. So maybe they'll do another streak. I don't buy it though. I think the Bills will have a pretty easy go around against the Dolphins here. Dolphins did keep it pretty close though in week 15 against the Bills, but I have the Bills advancing pretty easily. Moving to the NFC side of the bracket, in my opinion, this is the closest matchup we have so far. On one side, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and on the other side, you have the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys have been a very solid team all year. One of their 4 losses did come against Tampa Bay in week 1, however. Dak Prescott has been pretty mid this year. He's thrown more interceptions than Daniel Jones in like 5 less games. Pair that with an awful game against a team that was starting their 3rd-string rookie quarterback in the Commanders last week, and in my opinion, there's a question for a bit of concern in Dallas. And on the other side, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. Tampa Bay's been pretty awful all year, 8-9. Tom Brady's first losing record ever when he was the main quarterback. Tom Brady's waiting to explode and is out for blood. This could be his final playoff run, and I think Tampa Bay can put the game together. It's America's team versus America's GOAT. I think this game will be close, but I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady will squeak it out. This next matchup, in my opinion, should just be called the matchup of the frauds. On one side of the fraud New York Giants. Why do I call them frauds? Well, first off, every New York Giants fan seems to think that this is such a great season that they're having. For New York Giants standards, yeah, it's an amazing season that they're having, and they still finished 9-7-1. Brian Daboll's been amazing as a rookie head coach. He probably should win Coach of the Year other than maybe Dan Campbell in Detroit. And they were 7-2 at one point. To finish the year 2-5-1 is not good. Daniel Jones has been an improvement this year, but he's still Daniel Jones at the end of the day. A mid to awful quarterback at best. Their defense is okay, their O-line's okay, their wide receiving core is okay, but the main part of this team is Saquon Barkley. And I'm not 100% convinced Saquon Barkley carried this team in the playoffs. Then on the other side, you have the mega frauds of the century, the Minnesota Vikings. I think last year was a pretty cool stat that the Vikings would have been 15-2 if the games ended at halftime. This year, the Vikings have just gotten so extraordinary lucky that it's not even funny. The Vikings are 11-0 in one-possession games this year. 11-0. Yes, that takes skill, but at the same time, you gotta get very lucky for that to happen. Pair that with the Cowboys blowing them out, the Packers blew them out, and the Packers aren't even a playoff team, and the Colts were blowing them out before they decided that they want to have the title for the biggest, throwing the biggest lead in NFL history, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. I think this game is pretty close, in my opinion. I'm gonna take the Vikings over the Giants, and kind of the upset, not gonna lie. And to finish off the wildcard round, which is actually the first game in real life, we have the 49ers and Seahawks. On one side, you have mystery relevant, the last pick in the NFL draft, who has been able to extend his team team's winning streak to 10 plus games. Brock Purdy was irrelevant, literally a month and a half ago, but now he's one of the biggest names in the NFL. And then on the other side, you have the definition of irrelevant in the NFL in the last 5 to 10 years, Geno Smith. Before this year, Geno Smith was an afterthought, and now he's a front runner for comeback player of the year. I'm a Seahawks fan, and I'm super excited that this team is in the playoffs. I think we have a good future, we have a solid core, we just gotta fix the O-line a little bit and fix the defense, and I think we're back to contending. But there's no way we're beating the 49ers, it's just not happening. We've been blown out twice this year by them. I don't know if it's gonna be a blowout, but I have the 49ers going 3 for 3, and I have the 49ers advancing to the divisional round. Heading back to the AFC side for the divisional round, we have the Chargers versus Chiefs. Pretty much we have a great team from the AFC West playing Goliath from the AFC West. The Chiefs have the undeniable MVP in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes. If he somehow does not win MVP, there's something wrong. 5,000 passing yards, 45 plus touchdowns, and a 14-3 record. Pair that with Tyreek Hill not even being there anymore and him losing his biggest weapon, and that is very, very, very impressive. Like I alluded to earlier, Kansas City's 14-3, have the bye. We can't have home field advantage for this game. I don't think I have to say anything. The Chargers are a good team, but they're not winning. Chargers got the playoff experience they needed. They won one game, lost one game. I have the Chiefs advancing to the AFC Championship game. So we're finally getting to watch this game, the Bengals-Bills. We all know what happened week 17, and we all know how good of a story it'd be for the Bills to go out and win the Super Bowl for DeMar Hamlin. But the Bengals are the second hottest team in football, and in my opinion, the best team in football. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase versus Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs is going to be an instant classic. Cincinnati's O-line is kind of mediocre. Yes, I know that. But I just cannot pick the Bills to win this game. I just think Cincinnati's a better team. And with that being said, I have the Bengals advancing to the AFC Championship game. On the other side of the playoff bracket, you have the 49ers versus Vikings. Like I was alluding to earlier, the Vikings, in my opinion, are mega frauds and one of the biggest frauds in this century. And then on the other side, you have the 49ers, who just happen to be the hottest team in football, and in my opinion, the second best team in football. Not explaining it anymore, I have the 49ers advancing to the NFC Championship game. And then we have the Eagles versus Buccaneers. I think the Eagles are a great team, but I'm kind of scared for Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is healed technically, and they do have the #1 seed, and they do have home field advantage. But if he somehow gets injured again, their season's over. It's that simple. And like I alluded to earlier, Tom Brady is on a mission this year. This could be his last playoffs ever. I don't think it will be his last playoffs ever. I think he will come back next year, but could be. He will be on a mission. And the Buccaneers themselves are on a mission to prove everybody wrong that they're not as bad as a team as they seem to be. This is an upset, but I got the Buccaneers advancing to the NFC Championship game. And then there were 4. On one side, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. And on the other side, the Kansas City Chiefs. A rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Joe Burrow is undefeated against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Kansas City is obviously looking to break that record. Like I said earlier, Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football right now. And then you got, in my opinion, the second or third best quarterback in football right now on the other side in Joe Burrow. And in my opinion, I just cannot bet against the Bengals. I got the Bengals extending Joe Burrow's winning record against Patrick Mahomes to 4-0, and I have the Bengals advancing to the Super Bowl. And then we have the Eagles versus 49ers. This game will be played in Philadelphia, and we have Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is actually a very underrated quarterback somehow, and I do think he has the ability to go far in this playoffs. And I think the 49ers are a better team than the Eagles. Like I said, Jalen Hurts' health is a main priority to me. If he gets hurt a little bit, I think it's game over. And I think it's game over either way. I have the 49ers beating the Eagles and advancing to the Super Bowl. And then there were 2, Bengals and 49ers. On one side, Joe Burrow and the Bengals looking for revenge after losing to the Rams last season in the Super Bowl. And on the other side, you have Mr. Irrelevant looking to win the Super Bowl in his rookie season in the San Francisco 49ers. You have the best team in football and the second best team in football, in my opinion. The 2 hottest teams in football going up against each other. And I think the game really comes down to experience. The 49ers just don't have the experience in the Super Bowl. The Bengals do. I think Brock Purdy's an amazing quarterback. I think he's really good. And I think he will be really good for years to come. But I cannot see a rookie quarterback winning the Super Bowl. I have the Bengals winning Super Bowl 57, Joe Burrow winning his first Super Bowl.